السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهد الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وسلم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء، واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. Indeed, all thanks is to Allah Azza wa Jal. We seek refuge in Him and we seek His forgiveness. We seek refuge in Allah from the evil of our own selves and the evil of our actions, for indeed, whomsoever Allah guides to Islam, no one can misguide, and whomsoever Allah misguides, no one can guide. And I stand before you and I bear witness that there is no deity, there is no Lord, there is no ilah except Allah Azza wa Jal. And I stand before you and I bear witness that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam ibn Abdullah is the last and final messenger and the seal of all prophethood. O you who believe, be God conscious of Allah Azza wa Jal as is His due, and do not die unless you are in the state of Islam. Be God conscious of a Lord who created you from one soul, and from that soul many men and many women, and be mindful of Allah in whose names you appeal to one another and honor family ties. Indeed, Allah is ever over you, an observer, and a watcher. This khutbah was made in inspiration to multiple submissions to the ICF community khutbah suggestions, all on the same topic. And so if you would like to hear, or if you have an idea of what you would like to be heard spoken about, then submit a suggestion and inshallah it will be addressed. Before I start this khutbah, I would like to make a quick disclaimer about its title. That this is not a khutbah about how you need to pray. This is not a khutbah about how if you do not pray, then you are not considered a believer. This is not a khutbah about how prayer will change your life, because we know this and I've talked about it before. Rather, this khutbah is to address one thing, and that is what makes a salah a salah. What makes a prayer a prayer? When does a prayer come from movements to the purpose of our creation? Because if you took all of humanity, the whole human population, and you asked how many from this human population believe in Allah Azza wa Jal, you may not know the number, but you can at the very least say not the majority. And if you took all those who believe in Allah Azza wa Jal, believe in the oneness of God, and you asked how many of these people pray 5 times a day? Now we hope that the answer is the majority, but at the very least we can say not everyone. Now if you took the people who pray and you asked how many of them, how many of those pray correctly with their nose on the ground, following all of the arkan, you'll say not everyone. And if you took those who believe in Allah Azza wa Jal, who pray 5 times a day, who pray correctly, and you asked further, how many of those actually pray with khushoo' in their salah? The answer again, not everyone. So the fact that Allah has selected you is a blessing on top of a blessing on top of a blessing. But that was never the problem. Rather, it was the lack of realization or lack of focus thereof. What is khushu'a? What is khushu'a? What does it mean to have khushu'a in your salah? That you are humble before Allah Azza wa Jal. That you are humble in your prayer and in your act of worship. Some people think that humbleness, humility, is praying like this, with your head bent down. When it was Umar ibn al-Khattab, when he saw someone praying like this, a person praying like this, he said, raise your head. For khushu'a lies not on the necks, rather it's in the hearts. قَدْ أَفْلَحَ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ الَّذِينَ هُمْ فِي صَلَاتِهِمْ خَاشِعُونَ. Successful are the believers, those who are humble in their prayer. When you come to the realization that you are standing in front of the Creator of you and I, that you are standing before the one who created you, the one who gave you, the one who gives life to death, the one who gives death to life. Malik al-Muluk, King of Kings. We have no choice but to be humble, but that was never the problem. Again, it was lack of realization or lack of focus thereof. You can have one brother recite Surah Al-Baqarah all through, 286 verses. with no khushu'. And another brother recites Surah Al-Ikhlas, a 4-verse surah. All the khushu' in the world, you tell me which one is more heavier in the sight of Allah Azza wa Jalla. One brother prays the whole night, up and down, movement after movement, no khushu'. Another brother prays shifa and witr with all the khushu' in his heart. You tell me which one weighs heavier in the sight of Allah Azza wa Jalla. Efficiency is key. And that is the mindset of a believer. How can, in the little time that I have, 40, 50, 60, 70 years, how many, in the little time that I have, can I attain the great reward? How can I attain a great reward in such little time? Salah is what feeds our soul. It's what gives life to our hearts. You have some non-Muslims, they'll ask, but why 5? Why 5 times a day? Because it's sustenance for the heart. It is what feeds us. You eat, you feed your stomach 3 times a day. We feed our soul 5 times a day. Just like the example of a man who eats to suffice his hunger, but eating 1 bite never sufficed his hunger. In fact, it may even have made him more hungry. And that is the example of the one who prays without khushu'. It's as if he took 1 bite and still remains hungry. فَوَيْلٌ لِلْمُصَلِّينَ. Woe to those who pray. الَّذِينَ هُمْ عَنْ صَلَاتِهِمْ سَاهُونَ. Those who are unmindful in their prayers. Imam Ghazali, he comments, he says, Sahun falls under the category of the people who are not humble in their prayers. And some of the Mufassirun, they even added that Allah knows the creation, which is why He used the word an salatihim. An, meaning from beginning to end. From the moment they said Allahu Akbar to Assalamu Alaikum, they had no humbleness, no humility, no focus in their salah. Instead of using the word fi salatihim during their prayer, Allah used the word an because He knows the human mind. He knows that we lose focus. So woe to those who pray from beginning to end without focus, without being humble in front of Allah Azza wa Jalla. Abdullah ibn Abbas, he tells us, لَيْسَ مِن صَلَاتِكَ إِلَّا مَا عَقَّلْتَ مِنْهَا. That you will not attain from your salah except that which you were conscious of while you were performing. Whenever you feel your mind start to wander, bring it back. Refocus. Reattain that humbleness in your salah. Even if you don't know what the imam is reciting, even if you don't speak Arabic, to have in your mind that you are praying in front of Malik al-Muluk, King of Kings, the Creator, the Sustainer, Al-Wahid, Al-Ahad. You have no choice but to be humble. To worship Allah Azza wa Jal as if you see Him. فَإِن لَمْ تَكُنْ تَرَاهُ فَإِنَّهُ يَرَاكَ. For even if you do not see Him, He sees you. Know that He sees you. And that is excellence. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. Bismillah wa salatu wa salam ala Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Inshallah, just a couple of quick announcements. Today is the last day for board member nominations. Tomorrow there will be a community meeting to meet the board candidates right after Maghrib prayer at the masjid. We hope to see you there, inshallah. ICF is holding homeschool information session for K-12 students under the leadership of Virginia teachers on October 29th at 2 p.m. Again, October 29th at 2 p.m. If you or you know someone who's interested, then you can please come and attend. We have our continuing Young Muslim meeting on Saturdays after Maghrib, and our continuing Halaqah series life after death on Fridays after the Isha prayer. We have our new halaqa series, Get to Know Surah Al-Kahf, on Saturdays after Isha, that is continuing. And lastly, we have our new Muslim class that are still ongoing at 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. for those who have yet to become Muslim or has just embraced Islam and want to learn the basics. And lastly, please continue generous donations for the expansion of the masjid. Wa jazakumullahu khairan. My dear brothers and sisters, another way we can attain the khushu' in our salah, the humbleness, the humility, is by praying in the masjid with the believers. For it is easy for shaitan to attack the lonely believer than it is for him to attack the pack. When we are praying side by side in the masjid, we are not only connecting with Allah Azza wa Jal, but we are connecting with one another, both physically and spiritually, foot to foot, shoulder to shoulder. As was said in the Sahih Hadith, according to Al-Bani, it was narrated by Abdullah ibn Umar that the Prophet Muhammad said, set the rows in order, stand shoulder to shoulder, close the gaps, be pliant in the hands of your brethren, and do not leave openings for the devil. If anyone joins up a row, Allah will join him up. But if anyone breaks a row, Allah will cut him off. Anas ibn Malik, radiallahu anh, he adds, he said, every one of us used to put his shoulder with the shoulder of his brother and his foot with the foot of his brother. Yet we're playing tag. We're playing tag in salah. When you try to connect your foot with your brother, he moves it away. Before the imam, he begins to pray, he says, Istawu, a'tadilu. Straighten the ranks. Prepare yourselves. Prepare yourselves for what? For the meeting that you have with Allah Azza wa Jalla. Even to prepare yourself before you begin to pray, by preparing the space that you're about to pray in. After Salat al-Jum'ah, brothers are praying next to the exit. Ya akhi, how are you supposed to have focus? Where is the khushu' if everyone's passing in front of you? Move up, move forward, pray, have a sutra, a wall, a chair, something to help you regain your khushu', to regain your focus, to retain your humbleness before Allah Azza wa Jalla. Better yet, pray your sunnahs at home. Just as the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ prayed his sunnahs at home. Ibn Umar narrated that the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said, perform some of your prayers, that is the sunnah prayers, in your houses, and do not make them like that of the graves. Our sunnah prayers are what brings life to the very houses that we live in, the very places we call home. For without, it would be cold and empty. And lastly, if not the first, the most important, is to make dua to Allah Azza wa Jal with khushu', for khushu'. Because some of us, when we're making dua to Allah Azza wa Jal, we treat it like it's applying for a job application. When are we going to stop talking to Allah Azza wa Jal as someone we do not know? Making the same dua over and over again, as if we're on autopilot, not even knowing what we're saying anymore. For it was the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ who said, "I'lamu, id'u Allah wa antum muqinuna bil ijaba wa'lamu anna Allah la yastajibu du'aan min qalbin ghafilin lahin." That the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, he said, call upon Allah with certainty that He will answer you, and know that Allah will not answer the supplication of a heart that is unmindful and distracted. We are the ones who are in need of Allah. Allah is not in need of us. We are the beggars before Allah Azza wa Jal. Ya ayyuhan nasu antum al-fuqara'u ila Allah, wallahu huwa al-ghaniyyu al-hamid. O humanity, it is you who stand in need of Allah, but Allah alone is self-sufficient and praiseworthy. No one has to see you beg. Rather, it is the one who should see you beg. Al-Wahid, Al-Ahad, the creator of you and I. Humble yourself before Allah Azza wa Jal, before Allah humbles you. Muhammad Ali, the great champ, the great boxer, before he died, while he was in Alzheimer's disease, and he had the very small capability, he was still able to speak very slowly. He said that the best thing that happened to him was Alzheimer's. Imagine, the best thing that happened to him was Alzheimer's. Not that he won awards, not that he won matches. Why? Because if he had died, he would have without the Alzheimer's, he would have gone to his grave saying, I am the greatest. And then how would he have been judged before Allah Azza wa Jalla? But he said, Allah humbled me. Allah showed me who is the greatest. Allahu Akbar. Walillahi alhamd. We ask Allah Azza wa Jalla to forgive his sins and the sins of those that have died in the way of Allah. We ask Allah to ease the pain of the suffering of the oppressed all around the world. We ask Allah to destroy the oppressors and to give Muslims victory. ربنا أفرغ علينا صبرا وثبت أقدامنا وانصرنا على القوم الكافرين. ربنا اغفر لنا ذنوبنا وإسرافنا في أمرنا وثبت أقدامنا وانصرنا على القوم الكافرين. اللهم اجعل لنا من لدنك وليا واجعل لنا من لدنك نصيرا. اللهم منزل الكتاب ومجري السحاب وهازم الأحزاب اهزمهم وانصرنا عليهم. اللهم إنا نجعلك في نحورهم ونعوذ بك من شرورهم. عباد الله إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون فاذكروا الله العظيم يذكركم واشكروه يزدكم واستغفروه يغفر لكم واتقوه يجعل لكم من أمركم مخرجا. أقم الصلاة.